engage. We will want to introduce to you Ms. Gwendolyn Grant. She is the President and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Kansas City, a civil rights organization that has been serving Kansas City now for 100 years. Ms. Grant.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Robinson. And thanks to you and your fellow council members for hosting this very important conversation to give voice to the concerns and challenges that we as a community have about police accountability and opening the avenues of communication so that we can understand what we can do going forward to prevent finding ourselves in this place yet again. I want to salute the protesters who have been in the street, with peaceful, direct action and lifting up their voices to spotlight the insidious virus of institutional and structural racism that has plagued our criminal justice system for years. I want to talk briefly about the work that the Urban League has been doing along with the NAACP and More Squared and community and faith-based leaders. We have been concerned for many months and years actually about the manner in which law enforcement has conducted itself here in Kansas City. And it's unfortunate that we had to lose George Floyd at a national level, to shine a light or to get the attention of Police Chief Smith and the Kansas City Board of Police Commissioners to now begin to pay attention to these issues. We have to know that power is never conceded without a fight, and change does not happen in comfort. And so it is important that we continue to be vigilant in the protests. We must be vigilant in lifting our voices, and we must stay the course until we see systemic and structural change at the Kansas City Police Department. So taking a knee with the protesters is symbolic. Marching hand in hand with the protesters tomorrow is symbolic, but when you finish that march on the street, then you march into the boardroom and start changing those policies and changing those practices and changing procedures that have injured our people all this time. So this collaborative has been working for the last several months, doing our due diligence relative to the lack of accountability, the lack of transparency with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. In the past year, 3 African-American men have been killed at the hands of Kansas City, Missouri police officers. Terrence Bridges, Cameron Lamb, Donnie Sanders. We have been able to get information at this point, we do not know the names of the officers who killed Cameron Lamb. We do not know the names of the officers who killed Donnie Sanders. This department operates under secrecy, a veil of secrecy. This department operates with the policy, with the 2-tiered justice system, a 2-tiered accountability system, a different set of accountabilities for law enforcement, and a different set of accountabilities for us. This is not acceptable. Justice, I feel your pain. I have 2 grandsons, one soon to be 16 and one soon to be 13, and me and my daughter are terrified at the thought that someday they'll drive a vehicle and may be pulled over and killed by a police officer. You made a statement about how we must hold the mayor and the city council accountable. We can lift our voices, we can make some noise, but you know what? The mayor is not the boss. The mayor is not the police chief's boss unilaterally. The mayor has 1 vote on the Board of Police Commissioners. Nathan Garrett is the chair of the Board of Police Commissioners. The Board of Police Commissioners is appointed by the governor. They are accountable to the governor. We said we should follow our tax dollars and and monitor our spending. 70% of the budget for the city of Kansas City, Missouri is allocated to public safety. $250 million of that is channeled to the police department, yet we have no authority over the policies, procedures, and practices of that department that we fund. That needs to change. So I will talk about what needs to happen. We need fundamentally structural police reforms. And they start with some of you may not know, the mayor had a press conference this evening, and we commend him for that. He announced that they are now going to be looking into trying to find some funding for body cameras. We've been asking for that for years. So this is why you need to know that when you protest, when you speak up, then that causes folks to now listen, because we've been asking for body cams. And we've gotten a lot of reasons from the chief and the police board for why they don't have them. So now they're going to look for federal funding. So that's still not a promise you're going to get body cams. That's we're going to see if we can find some money to get body cams. So your protests, so our vigilance, we must stay the course until we actually see police officers with body cams. So we can't just go out here and march for a minute and then not show back up in the boardroom. So the next step is you start showing up at police board meetings, because that's where the action is. That's where the real change is going to come. Is holding the police board accountable for the policies and procedures at the police department, because that's their job. So then, we have to, you talked about the money and who's the boss. Nathan Garrett is, they're appointed by the governor. We need local control of Kansas City Police Department. That's something we fight for. That's something that can lead to the types of structural changes that we need to see. And then we need to have the kind of leadership that will embrace those changes. In the past, we have not gotten any attention to our pleas for transparency, not only in the cases of these incidents of excessive force, but we've asked for transparency. What are the policies? Let us read them. We were told by Chief Smith that the policies are posted on the website. We go look for the policies. A lot of the information we need to see is redacted. We ask, what are the procedures when you roll up on a young Cameron Lamb who is on his own property and you kill him, you violate his Fourth Amendment rights, and then you dig in and do not provide any information and refuse to issue a standard probable cause statement to the Jackson County prosecutor so that she can bring charges against the officers if she desires. So that forces her to kick that up to a grand jury. And what happens when cases go to grand juries that involve officer-involved homicides against Black people? We most often don't get an indictment. So I'm glad that the chief is out here. I'm not going to hate on him for that. I'm not going to hate on Mayor Lucas for the 3 things he announced on the press conference, but don't get don't let that don't get it twisted. This struggle is not over. The fight is not over until we have a reformed police department, until we have a police department that is fair in processes, until we have a police department that is transparent in its actions, until we have a police department that provides opportunity for voice, until we have a police department that is impartial in decision making. And to get this done, we need local control, and we need much better leadership than we've been getting from Chief Smith. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Grant. We really we appreciate that information. We will now hear from a couple of more of our